Hi everyone, my name is Itamar Blauer, and in today's presentation I'm going to be going through live how I would be building backlinks using the teammate technique, which is a link building technique that I came up with, and I've written an entire post about it on my website. But I thought in this session I want to go through the kind of step-by-step of what I would do using an actual example, so you see what my kind of mindset is when I go through this in terms of the things I look out for and how I approach the execution of building strong links using this technique. And this is completely live. There's not going to be any editing involved within this session, so feel free to get a pen and paper out if you want to put in some notes, or pause at any point if you want to as well, if there is a kind of pre-recorded thing that you can pause afterwards or whatever. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So considering the 3 steps of the teammate technique, and I'm just going to go through them really quickly here. So step 1, creating content that confirms your expertise. Step 2 is find websites with content/knowledge gaps. And step 3 is reach out like a teammate. So I'm going to be using an example of this with Cure Media, which is an award-winning influencer marketing agency. And so I'm going to be using this website as the demonstration for today's session. So let's quickly go back to see what step 1 is, which is create content that confirms your expertise. And the reason why this is important is because if you don't have content that confirms you as an authority or an expert in your industry, there's a very little chance that you'll be able to kind of persuade somebody that you are a source worth linking to, because people are understanding nowadays, webmasters and business owners, they understand that within their websites they need to have everything there being credible. That's why you see a lot of websites, when they link out to other sites on the web, they're usually expert websites, or it's Wikipedia, some sort of authority. So you have to essentially portray that within your content. So let's have a look through the blog and pick out something. And there are lots of great posts here as well about influencer marketing, but something that I think stands out to me when I think of actual authority, something that many people don't have, and that's something also you should keep in mind, is that the expert type of content should be something that not everyone can do or get so easily, or write up so easily. So that's why I'm going to use this post as an example, which is about research that has been done for influencer marketing this year. So there's a lot of great stats that are on here as well, and because these were all researched by Cure Media, that means it's owned. That means that when you reach out as, for example, somebody who works for Cure Media, then obviously it adds that level of kind of authority to that, because you are the source essentially when you're reaching out from here. And if we go down, there's a lot of different types of stats that can be useful for outreach in this instance. And I think something that would be good would be this one, for example. 63% of consumers think nano and micro influencers are more trustworthy compared to macro and mega influencers. So this is all about the nano and micro influencers, which are kind of smaller influencers. So we're going to use this essentially as the basis, and we can use this post as the kind of URL that we want to build the links to, because this is a great post filled with great content. But we're going to use the micro influencers angle to do this. So we've kind of gone through number 1, and we've seen, or step 1, and we've seen that we've got great content that confirms our expertise based on this study. Now we need to find websites with content/knowledge gaps, and the way that I like to do this is by using Google search operators, because then I can filter out exactly the types of things that, well, I've written about, and I can specifically see when other people haven't. And this is very important. And the reason why you need to find websites that have these gaps is because there's no reason to link to you if their content is already above par. If it's already great content, there's no reason that they would want to link to you. And so if we take this step 2 and utilize it with our example of the micro influencers topic here, what we can do is think, well, what kind of websites would potentially be talking about micro-influencers? Well, to me, it sounds more like a thing that you would see in a trends article. For example, trends within trends within influencer marketing, I should say. So let's use Google search operators to perform this search and see what comes up. So the way that I would do this is I would usually go for an in title search. So I would do in title and then influencer marketing trends, because I want that to show up in the title of the results. And then I'm gonna do a minus sign or a dash, and I'm going to put micro here. And the reason I do this because I'm going to be filtering out all of the results that include the word micro in there. So already I can see a bunch of websites that, and some of them are quite authoritative as well. Like we've got Forbes.com here. We've got, let's see, scrolling down. So I'm not familiar with quite a few of these sites, but I know obviously if Forbes is ranking in the 3rd position for me organically, then obviously I would assume that these websites, these 2 sites above, are quite influential as well. And obviously I'm doing this in an incognito window as well, just to show you the full kind of process. So I'm not logged into anything anywhere, just showing you straight how it is for if anyone was to try and do this. But of course I'm currently in the UK, so these results may be different depending on where you are. So now if we take a look deeper into these websites, like here, if we take a look at the first one, now I know that if I search for micro in this article, I'm not going to find it because they don't have anything to do with micro. And something important about the prospecting is, if it's a direct competitor, there's little to no chance they would actually want to link to you. So always when you're prospecting, try and check to see what these people actually do. And if they do something that's too similar to the website you want to build links to, it might not be worth doing. So for this one, I'm suspecting that it is quite similar in terms of these guys being service providers. So for this reason alone, I'm not going to pursue this prospect. And this is why prospecting is important. Even if you're thinking, well, if this website, let's say, has a high domain rating, for instance, or you know it's got lots of great links pointing to it, it doesn't matter, because you need to be very strict about your prospecting. And this is the number one thing that I kind of do or focus on if I want to get good success. And I got very good success using the teammate technique, and I'd say the majority of that is down to the prospecting itself. And you can still get lots of great links, but they have to be 100% viable for the purpose of your link building. So if we're going down, I see the Forbes article and I'm like, well, there's no way that somebody's going to be able to go in and update this and whatever. So absolutely no chance of this as well. So common sense tells me to just skip it. Now, if we keep going down, there's one here by brandinginasia.com. So this one, we can see it says 17th Feb 2021. So I know that this article was written, about half a year ago. So it's still fairly new. And if we take a look at this, do they have anything that could compete with the site I want to build links to? No, it doesn't seem like it. And we can take a look and see this post. Of course, as I said before, if we search for micro, it's not going to be there. So I already know that looking at it now, this seems to be like a pretty decent prospect. And mind you, I haven't taken a look at the backlink profile of the site, but you can usually get an idea of a website when you see the types of content that they have. And of course, the in terms of the niche that this is about, obviously it's to do with branding, so I can kind of understand the gist of the kind of content that they're releasing. So if we go back to the post here that they have on influencer marketing trends for 2021, we can see that they are linking out to other websites, and that's also important to see. So some websites that you see who might only link internally to their own pages and they have no external links, that's a red flag. That's a prospect I'm going to skip over. So in this case, it's not like that. Now, the thing that I would do once I'm kind of happy with this prospect is I'd go in to find out the details of the people who wrote it. So what I can see is this author called Madeline Mack. they've got a LinkedIn profile over here. So I could even add Madeleine, the author of this post, supposedly, on LinkedIn, and then reach out to them and get the conversation started that way. Now, if this wasn't the case, the other thing I look for is a way to find email addresses, usually through the kind of contact us page. That's where you might find this sort of stuff. But when we're taking a look at here, there's nothing on this kind of primary kind of header menu. So if we click on this hamburger icon, we can see an about us. So if I open that in a new tab, we can see contact over here as well. So here we can see already we've got a few email addresses for pictures, general info, and advertising. Now, usually when I see something like this, it's sometimes okay to kind of go for a more generic one like the info ats or hello at, but because this says pictures here, then I might want to contact staff at brandinginasia.com. So this is probably the contact I would go to first. And of course, when you're reaching out to people, always keep a list of who you've reached out to, when you reached out to them, how long it's been since they've replied, when you check back within a week. All that kind of stuff is very important as part of your outreach. So essentially, if we're coming back to the steps, so we found, let's say this example is a website with content and knowledge gaps because they haven't mentioned about micro influencers. And so once we've got that, obviously we can keep going down the SERP for as long as we want. Essentially, we can go to another page and be able to do this again. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to try and do the one example pretty much just to show you my process in terms of how I'd approach doing all of these steps just with this example. So going back here, we've done step 1, we've done step 2, and now it's time for step 3, which is reach out like a teammate. And the reason why I mention like a teammate is because the whole essence of the teammate technique is you need to be someone who can add value to the website you're reaching out to. And essentially, when you think of what a teammate does, think of, let's say, a basketball team. Right? So there's 5 players on the court, and individually they may vary in terms of their skill, but they have to be great teammates for them to win. And winning is the overall goal of the sport. So then when we kind of think about that example in this instance, it's like, well, you're helping this site as a teammate to achieve their overall goals. And that, there can be loads of different goals there. That can be improving their website content. It could be adding more expertise. It could be even something like helping them or giving advice about their UX or anything like that. And there's so many different ways that this can be interpreted. But there are loads of different examples. So now that we've got the contact, we want to send an email to staff@brandinginasia.com. Now, in terms of what the email would look like, I've got a notepad here that I'll drag to this site, which you actually can't see. So what I'll do is I'll get a word counter up and I'll paste this in here just so you can see. So this is what the template for the email is going to look like. And mind you, if I try and make it seem like what it would be in an email, let me just copy this email address, and it'll be like to this, and we'll have a subject line. So the subject line can obviously vary, but something that I like to use is like adding to your already awesome let's say influencer marketing trends or something like that. You can kind of be creative with it, and obviously keep it tailored to the email or tailored to the website that you're reaching out to and the kind of content that they've got already. So we've got we've got the subject line. Now here comes the most important bit, which is the content of the email. So here I start off with hi X team, and obviously if you don't know the person, then it's always kind of good to talk about the brand. So I can say branding in Asia, but of course I'm not just going to write it without first understanding how they like to call themselves in terms of the case. So obviously we can see that they are doing it like this, so I might copy that and then paste it in here exactly as it is, because otherwise they might think that, you know, that you don't know anything about them. If I was to type it like this, right, doesn't look that great. So you want to use consistent case of how they spell their brand name. So hi, branding in Asia team. Now we said I was doing some digging around X and happened to find your post on X. So I was doing some digging around, of course, and we want to type in here influencer marketing, right, or influencer marketing trends. You can pick either or, and happen to find your post on, and of course their post is on influencer marketing trends for 2021. Now, because I've mentioned that here, that means I'm going to remove trends. So I was digging around influencer marketing and happened to find your post on influencer marketing trends for 2021. And of course, within an email, you can include hyperlinks. So usually I would hyperlink either the word post or influencer marketing trends for 2021. So I would be copying this URL and I would be including it as a hyperlink from either the anchor post or influencer marketing trends for 2021. And now we want to go deeper and really show that we've explored that piece of content well. So your mention of X is great. It's something I recommend because X. So this is something you can obviously tailor. So if we take a look into here, have a look at kind of what they've got. So of course we have to scroll up. So if we just really quickly use something like data-driven everything, so yeah, we can mention that. So you know, you can say your mention of data or of using data-driven in or data-driven. How would I phrase this? Your mention of, let's just say, data-driven influencer marketing is great. We could say it's something I recommend, or it's something we recommend to clients because data informs how well campaigns might run, or something like that. So you can obviously tailor this to whatever it is you're doing, but the essence of this is that we're showing that we've engaged with their content, and because they've already written about this, they are interested in it. So this is why we have to, you know, find something that really not many people do. I'll be quite frank, when it comes to outreach, is actually showing that you've engaged with the content. So this is the whole purpose of this paragraph here. Now comes to the bit where it's got what they're missing, right? So here I've got, have you considered X? It's great because X. So have you considered, and of course the thing that we were originally going to was this whole concept of micro-influencers, right? So it'd be like, have you considered micro-influencers? So we could either phrase that as that, or we could say, have you considered mentioning micro-influencers? We could say they're great because or we can even go further and tailor it to the actual post here. So we could say, you know, our research has shown that, and of course we can then copy this stat. So 63% of consumers think nano and micro influencers are more trustworthy compared to macro and mega influencers. And we can phrase this maybe a bit better. So our latest research from this year has shown. So right, we're showing them that this is recent. This is something that they could really benefit with. So we can then say after here, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but if not, I'd be happy to hop on a call and discuss this further, or discuss about micro-influencers further. Let me know if you have time for a quick chat. And then we ended up with, thanks for your time and hope to hear from you soon. Right, so this is the kind of email template, right, that you should be tailoring and utilizing when you're doing the outreach, because it covers some very important things. It covers that we understand who they are, right? We've got the case in the branding, right? It's personalized, which we're showing from the beginning that we are kind of in sync in terms of the content or the things that we write about. We can also see here that we've engaged with their content and have provided some commentary on it. And then we can move on to the part where, they've got that content or knowledge gap. In this case, it's micro-influencers. We're talking about our content and how it is portrayed to be an authority or an expert piece, because we're talking about our latest research from this year, and then we've got stats to back up this kind of point of micro-influencers and how beneficial they are, and then we round it up by kind of saying, well, you might know this, I'm sure you do, but if not, we can hop on a call and discuss this. And this kind of thing for me has gotten very, very high percentage in terms of people who actually respond to the emails, because it covers so many things. That you've got the personalization, the engagement within the content, showing them things that they haven't done and given reasons of why it's beneficial for them, and overall keeping a very professional but friendly tone as well, which is also important. And of course, subject lines are important too. So definitely focus on them and focus on actually finding the right people. So if there wasn't this page with the contact details, I would go and add this person on LinkedIn and try and get the conversation there. Figure out as well who actually edits the blog. This might be a person that has just been the author of the post, but they don't have editorial access. So this is also very important. And as part of your prospecting, it's something that you should keep an eye out for as well. But essentially, that's what I would do. If I was to send out the email, this is how I would send it out. And for me, the teammate technique has provided me some great results. So if you want to check this post, you can find it on itamarblauer.com/teammate-technique. But the results that I did with my tests was 64% response rate, 45% success rate, which is, these are some crazy numbers we're talking about. And of course, it will mention obviously limitations and how it can vary within niches and amongst other things. But essentially, the teammate technique is something that has worked the best for me in terms of doing link building and email outreach. So I definitely recommend that you utilize this within your niche and try it out. And of course, let me know how it goes. So I really hope that you enjoyed this kind of live demo of my approach to the 3 steps, which is creating content that confirms your expertise, then finding websites that have content and knowledge gaps, and finally reaching out like a teammate. So if you did enjoy this, then feel free to find me on social media, or I'm the only person in the world with my name, so it shouldn't be hard to find me. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to me as well. I'll be happy to talk with you about this and answer any questions that you might have. So thank you for listening to this and watching this, and I hope that you've gotten some value out of it. And thanks a lot, and enjoy the rest of your day.